Hey, how's it going, everyone? This series, which is going to be whenever I have the time to release some, is mangas and manhwas that caught my attention, that hooked me. Uh, that when I started reading it, I knew this was different. This was something that needed to be shared with everyone I knew that read it, that needed a spotlight in it, needed to be talked about. If it's the first chapter or the 6th or the 20th, it's when it hooks you. The moment you read and you're going, wow, I need all of this. I want more and more and more. And the one we're going to be talking about today is Legend of the Northern Blade. It is a Korean manhwa. It came out in, I believe, it came out in 2019. To my knowledge, a translation group did not pick it up till early 2020. When it came out, it had a near daily release for almost a month. And in the first chapter, this manhwa hooked me in. It was different. It was something I didn't even know I wanted. There already started to become a trend, or not a trend, a popularity of martial art Korean manhwas or even Chinese manhwas being released. But this one was leagues above the rest. And I was mesmerized by it. It's the only thing I can think of. The art style, the story pacing, the characters. I know most people usually hype up a lot of stuff, and throughout nearly all the manhwas and mangas I've read, this is, in less than 5 chapters, this became in my top 10. I can't get enough of it. Even to the current chapter right now, I need 100 more chapters to be released. The current quote-unquote arc just finished with the first main antagonist, and wow, fucking wow. The creators I got no criticism. They know what they're doing. Uh, it's God's gift to this world, what they're doing. But let's get into it. With this particular manhwa, I got hooked in less than 5 pages in. Probably 3. Immediately looking at it, I was going, wow, this art style is different. What the hell's happening here? And then just reading on more and more, you start to see the story pacing, the style, and the style for it. And you start to see the style of it flourish. And magnificent is the only word in my vocabulary right now that I can think of to describe this sensational manga. Let's get into it. I am only going to be covering the first chapter of this manhwa because this is when it hooked me. It really hooked me, where it really, like, holy crap, it really got me, is the second chapter. But I can't talk about that because that is something that you need to see yourself. And the ending of that chapter solidified this series as probably the best series for me to read in 2020. Nothing beats it, in my opinion. So let's start breaking it down. The story starts talking about the antagonist, the Silent Knight, a mysterious group ravaging the world, causing destruction enough that the martial masters had to unite to create something called the Central Heavenly Alliance. Seeing that they needed a special group to focus on quelling this evil, they created the Northern Heavenly Sect to fight back against these monsters. And it took 4 generations of them fighting for them to be able to quell the Silent Knight. Also, small side note, the Silent Knight is a awesome name. Like, I always try to figure out how artists and authors come up with these names for the antagonists and stuff like that, because large portions of the time they sound pretty badass. The Silent Knight, like, they already sound cool. I want to know everything about them. And right now, in the current chapters that we are at, we've seen 3 or so people from the Silent Knight, and they're all awesome. I love all of them. They were finally quelled by the 4th generation leader, the Northern Wall. I am gonna be using their martial names or titles instead of their actual names, because one, I can't pronounce it and I'm gonna be butchering it all to hell. The only one I'm gonna be using is the main character, Jin Moo Won, and I will talk about the artist and the author later on. But Jin Moo Won's father, the 4th generation sect leader, with the 4 great pillars, the Demon Fist, the Tempest Storm, the Cursed Ghostblade, and the Iron Blood ruler, quelled the Silent Knight. They were able to fight back enough that the Silent Knight disappeared from the world, enough that people started to believe they were actually dead. But, seeing as this is only the first 5 pages of the chapter, you know it's not a happily ever after. Tragedy strikes, betrayal, and like most betrayals, they happen from within. We first see our main character, Jin Moo Won, at the age of 13, seeing his father being betrayed by his closest friends and compatriots, the 4 Great Pillars. It doesn't say exactly what he was accused of, but he is being charged by the 9 Skies, the ruling body of the Central Heavenly Alliance. One would say the strongest martial artists of the world, or political figures, actually. And the reason they betrayed him is because he became too much of an obstacle for them. They feared they would lose full control of the mainland, and they needed him out of the way. Like most things in life, people fear the loss of their control, their power being taken from them. And with the betrayal as well of the Great 4 Pillars, which you'll see later on that they wanted kind of to make their own in this world. Seeing no way out, he disbands the sect and follows their lead, knowing that if he were to rage and cause a scene, his son would die. He makes them promise that he will not be harmed. Promising and agreeing to that, the 4th generation leader kills himself to make sure his son lives on. Even though he carried out his duty faithfully and was supported by the Central Heavenly Alliance, he was still betrayed. And 3 years later, his son is still in the ruins of the sect, surviving, being tortured by the mercenaries left there by the Central Heavenly Alliance, questioning him for any secrets left in the sect. manuals, scrolls, elixirs, and so on. The reason they left the group there is because even though he is but a tiger cub without any fangs, he is still a tiger. The reason I say that is because he was not taught martial arts as a kid. He was only taught a specific language which will help him in the future. He was only educated, but not in the martial arts. This is as far as I can go without really spoiling, and there is one part in the second chapter that I personally do not want to take away from you guys. This is something that you need to experience yourself, and I urge you to go read this. And if you want me to keep going, I will do a full dive of the series and break it down for all of you. And I'll be doing this with other mangas and manhwas I have been reading over the years, and ones I think require people's attention. And if you guys want to find this, I will link the translation group below. At the moment, it is Leviathan Scans. Please support them if you can. The author, Hae-Min, and the artist, Woo Gok, I will add the handles for them below. Please support them so they can keep releasing this beautiful, beautiful manhwa to this world. I can't get enough. Like a drug addict, I need a new fix, and this manhwa is the release, and I am reading this religiously. Some manhwas I usually let it build up, but this one I respect it enough to be reading it every day it's released. Or I wish it was released every day. Wouldn't that be great? Alright, thank you for passing by. You guys know what to do. Sub, like, all the goodies. Thanks for passing by. I appreciate you. Stay beautiful, people.